first of all. And then let me share to Facebook. This bit works sometimes, but doesn't work all the time. So I'll record it and then.
Okay. So
how?
I've done some notes. So
amazing. Okay. All right, let me just check. We are live.
you good?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Busy day?
Always busy. Right, I think this is going to go live now. Hold on. Go live.
All right.
Right, so let me just check it's in the group. Check technology's being kind to me. Oh. Hold on. Right, so let me just check. Yay, we're live. Right. Okay. So hello to everybody who is listening in. It's lovely to have you here. This is Leah. Leah is a client of mine, has been for, when did you join? When did you start working with me?
I think it's around the first challenge that you did.
So like eighth time last year. And we'd met before that, hadn't we? Because we met at the Gherkin, didn't we? Yeah. So I did a talk at the Gherkin. It was the first ever square mile property meet, and a guy called Aaron runs that, and he invited me to speak. It was one of my favorite speaking things I've ever done, because it was in the top of the Gherkin. It was very, very cool in London. And Leah was in the audience and ended up jumping a lift, didn't you, home?
I know, right? I was thinking, this is awesome information. This is great. And then you said you're from Milton Keynes. I was like, oh, I can't invest in Milton Keynes now, can I? She's taking all the deals.
So Leah jumped in the car with me and we drove home. And when was that? So was that 18? I
think it was August. It came up on my notes. It was August 17, I think.
August 17.
No, 18.
18. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So we first came into contact August 18. And since then...
Yeah. I've been stalking you since then.
Yeah.
No like and trust.
No like and trust for sure.
Yeah.
Since then, your business has exploded. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it has.
Okay.
I think what I did is, at the time, Aaron and I had been on a course together, and that's how we got to know each other. And actually, the Gherkin was its first year anniversary since he started the property meet. So I'd been at the very first one. It was good to see how far that had come along. Yeah. And, we'd done the training and I was kind of implementing it. It was a 2.5-year training course. So lots of information, but obviously the implementation was always the challenge. So, and so over time, obviously you were local to me. So I attended a couple of your, not investor days, the training days that you were doing. So that was all part of my stalking you. So I kind of, did that. And I think what I sensed was just the value in terms of, you just seemed very knowledgeable in sort of implementing. So I think where you come in for me really has been more the implementing the knowledge. So I've got all this knowledge, but it's just putting it into practice that was a bit of a challenge, and that accountability and having someone who can you can just reach out to when you've got questions and stuff. So that I think the challenge came up, that the timing was perfect. I was at a point in my journey where I definitely needed it. And I feel if you hadn't done that challenge at that time, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Wow.
So I think it was very crucial. It was just the timing, I've just sort of known about you for this long, but I didn't even hesitate when you were doing the, when you sort of finished the challenge and you're sort of doing the ongoing after that. It was a no-brainer for me. I was like, I've got to do this,
Okay.
Exactly what I need. So yeah.
So let's go back a little step in terms of your current, in terms of the business that you set out to create. So take yourself back to April of last year.
Yeah.
What was your plan? Like where you said, obviously had the challenge not come up, you don't think you'd be where you were.
Yeah.
What was happening in your world at that time, like April last year? We literally just been locked down for 4 weeks. We were kind of in the middle of the height of COVID, or the first round anyway. What was happening in your world in business then that what was your kind of direction? Where were you heading at that point?
I was having a meltdown.
Okay.
Over the sort of during the time I've been doing the training, I had a couple of HMOs and I had a buy to let. So I had a portfolio, but I needed to spend more time in property and I wanted to leave my corporate job. So I then came up with a strategy to get into service apartments, and I started doing that in January.
Mm-hmm.
But very quickly became apparent that I wasn't going to be able to hold a demanding job, because I was working in the legal field in corporate world. I wasn't going to be able to hold a demanding job as well as doing the essay. So literally on the 3rd of March, I left my job. Brand new essay business started in January, left my job on the 3rd. Following week, I had 100% cancellations for the rest of the year. And I was like, great. You know, and it was just quite scary, to be honest. And then we went into lockdown on the day after my birthday. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said this challenge just came at the right time, because I was at a stage where I thought, what have I done? You know, I've just quit my job. I've got no income coming. The HMOs was at the time they were starting to struggle, because obviously people weren't being able to pay rent and stuff. I thought, you know, what am I going to do? So when the challenge came along, I kind of knew that I needed that kind of direction. And I wasn't thinking of quitting, but I just didn't know what the next plan was going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's why I keep saying it just happened at the right time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the service accommodation business that you started in January, and again, timing for you. I remember like talking to you about it last year and thinking, oh my goodness, if you could survive SA in 2020, you like made a tough stuff, like you absolutely nailed it. So, okay, so the situation when you joined the challenge was you were a bit lost. You'd started your SA business. How many units did you have at that point?
At that point, I had 2 units.
2 units.
So, yeah.
And 100% cancellations at this point.
Of my few bookings that I had. you know, March was starting to go up, because it'd been a bit of a struggle, because obviously with the timing of the year, that's the quietest time. So March was starting to start go, and the bookings were coming in. I was getting all excited. I was like, finally, you know, and then they all just disappeared.
Okay. And then, so you did the challenge in April. And then you joined the Fujita Wealth Strategy Hub after the back of the challenge. What was the number one thing that you took away from the challenge? Like, what was like the top thing that either you learned how to implement or you kind of thought differently about? Like, what was the top takeaway?
I think for me, the top takeaway was, first of all, activity, action. You're just doing stuff. I was a bit overwhelmed by, especially the task of connecting with people. But I think for me, the main thing I realized was I was either going to have to close shop or grow the business. And I decided to grow the business. And I think what I took away from the challenge was the sourcing element of it. And I thought, well, on 2 units, those are not going to pay my bills. And I just did the crazy thing of thinking I need to get more units. Even though I had no bookings, but I'd kind of tried to find ways to survive that, you know, getting key workers in. So I literally just went for it with connections. I started speaking to people a bit more, even previous connections where I wasn't really maximizing on the people that I had been speaking to before. I just felt, well, this is what I do. And then I don't really do that call to action thing. Mm-hmm. So I think the things I took up, so the first thing I did actually once I joined Cogito Wealth was I became sourcing compliant. Mm-hmm. So I did, and there's all the resources that you've got in there. So I've got all the materials that I needed. This is exactly just what I needed, the things to implement it, what I needed to do, how to do it. I went and signed up for all of that, started speaking to everyone. I found 3 units somewhere, and it just happened that the person who was sourcing me the units had 20 units to get rid of. In the same building. He was taking some, I was taking some, and he said to me, we've got 20 more to go. And I said, well, isn't that oversaturating the market? He said, no, don't worry, I've been in this area for about 7 years. I know the market really well. One of the bigger ones have folded about 25 units. So he said to me, because that was my main concern, as soon as he reassured me that that wasn't going to be a problem, I just went to work. I just took the tools that you gave me and I literally sourced 7 units.
Maybe I was excited for you to get to the numbers. So
I know. So I sourced 7 units. And I've got numbers for you if you want numbers. Okay, I've written down all the how every month, you know, billing. Because another thing that you really emphasize on is billing and having a clear picture of what you're doing. And I think that's another thing that I've taken away from it is at the end of every month, look at how much how much you've made, how much you've spent, and then that sets you, and how much you owe, and then that sets your targets for the next month. Something I wasn't really doing at all. So I didn't, at any one time, if you asked me how was the business doing, I don't know. I just checked, do I have money in the account? Yeah, can I pay for this? And that kind of is another thing that I took away from it. So I became quite obsessed with just keeping an eye on the billing, because the more you focus on something, you become more aware of it. And I just realized that I hadn't really thought about that before. So I started going mad on the billing. So I've got my numbers here. I think May, sorry?
Tell me them, I'm excited.
So May, I billed 2,600.
Yeah.
June was when I did the sourcing. So we had 6,000 when I started doing it. So I had £6,800. This is the most I'd ever billed. And then July, I had 9,600. August, wait for it, I had 11,000.
Hold on, you had 11.
I never said anything about, Sarah, I was just too busy.
Leah, I'm outraged.
No, wait, I haven't finished. September, another 11 grand. October, 24 grand I billed.
So for people watching this, they'll think that I already knew this and I didn't. Because Leah's not told me this.
Busy doing stuff to even have time to, and this is the part where I was talking about overwhelm. I think in the group, a lot of us were saying that all of this work has created so much activity.
Yeah. And
I just felt like I was nonstop. I turned the SA units that I took into show apartments. So that's how I was sourcing them. Everyone come and have a look at them and, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Can I have one? Yeah, I'll just take you upstairs. And I showed them, and that's how I basically ended up sourcing them. So I was working round the clock. So the billing was going really well. I was really pleased. And I think come November, I was shattered. My husband looked at me and he said, I think you need some time out. So I rang up my mom, and that's when I disappeared. I went off to Kenya, and I was gone for the whole of November. Initially, it was meant to be 2 weeks. But I spent 4 weeks there. But even that 4 weeks when I was there, I did not work at all. I literally had I've obviously had to get some help and support in terms of, one thing I've learned is the more you build, the more you spend, right? So it was just coming in and going out. And so I had to hire a VA to help me with this, a second one, because I had one before, like an admin person. And that month, so I spent time training them because I wanted them to know the business really well. And I obviously want to go back into building wealth, sort of growing my portfolio. So the whole month whilst I was away, I must have done like 2 days of work, 2 full days of work in the whole month I was away. And that month we billed 11,500. So I was like, this is amazing.
I mean, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
I knew you were doing well, but I had no idea you were
in the 8 months that since I've been in the hub, I've billed 66,000.
Well, fuck me. That's amazing.
This is why I wanted to do this, because I'm so pumped up. When I said my business exploded, I actually meant that.
Wow.
It literally
£66,000.
So it's on average about 8,200 every month since I've kind of.
That is absolutely amazing.
Since I've joined. So for me, I mean, I had to do the second challenge. The reason I'm doing the second challenge now, to be honest, is because I got so caught up in what I was doing that I didn't even finish the courses. So I think I must have stopped. So I was like, I can't do the training and all the work I'm doing. So I think this second time round is for me, because I had always planned to spend all of last year just learning SA, because it's heavily demanding. So I wanted to learn it, get a team on board. And then this year, my plan is to go back into wealth building and sort of building my portfolio. So I'm going in with a different strategy for this year. And that's why I needed the challenge again to sort of get me back on track.
Yeah.
Start doing viewings and start building my own portfolio. But the sourcing element of it will always be there, because it's a really good stream of income to help with, the building of the portfolio. So yeah.
Amazing. I'm absolutely blown away by those numbers. I mean, I knew your numbers were going to be good and I was going to ask you about them, but I actually really didn't know it was 66 grand in 8 months.
October, I couldn't believe it. I said, I'm going away now.
If you don't mind me asking you a question, right? And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but in your corporate world, what was your annual salary?
Oh gosh, I think about £45,000.
So you billed more in 8 months.
Yeah.
Than you did earn in the year before.
And never mind that when I left my job and all of this happened, I thought I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I literally had a whole week when I totally freaked out. I was like, what have I done?
Felt the fear and did it anyway, right?
I did, yeah.
Amazing.
So now the SA business has 5 units. We're going to get 5 more this year. And then And I think that's going to be it, because I really want us to focus on
assets now.
Yeah, assets.
Amazing stuff. So let me ask you a couple more questions, because I'm so curious about all of this. You obviously did a lot of training beforehand, and then you started working with me, and something clearly changed. What would you say is the thing that's, I guess, the most differentiating factor of being part of the hub versus just training courses? Like, what was it for you that made you change, like your activities and behaviors and implementing stuff? Like, what was it that changed?
I think it's having a mentor, because even with my HMO portfolio that I had a mentor with me as part of the training. We got given a mentor for 3 days. You spent 3 days with them, and they were all yours. And I find that's when I took action. So for me, it's always been very clear that unless I've got someone who is sort of hand holding, I'm incapable of doing anything. And I needed that. And I think, and I spent time looking for a mentor, to be honest, because there's a period where for about 6 months I was actually interviewing people, and no one resonated with me, because I think one thing I've learned with a mentor is you need to have similar values. You need to have, so it's very important, because if you don't, then you don't really have that kind of connection, and you can't really look up to them, because what they're aspiring to is not what you're aspiring to. So it makes it very difficult to do that. So it was just, for me, like, I felt, and actually it wasn't a gamble, because like I said, I've been following you, and I know you're very proactive. I know you're very present, and I needed someone like that. So when I joined the hub, I think I would have been surprised if that hadn't happened, because I kind of, over that period, I'd kind of worked out that you would be that kind of a person.
I mean, it's just the way I am. I'm just being.
I know. So, I've said to all my friends, you need to come and do this 5-day challenge. What is it? Just come and do it. Been that kind of thing. So I think for me, it was just the missing part of the puzzle that kind of.
So the key things for you then were the fact that you've got like daily access to me to get just quick answers to things, so you could move forward, but also the accountability aspect of that, and the guidance to implement things. Okay.
And the live calls, I think those are really important. The frequency is just right, because if you had them every week, that would be too much.
It would be too much for me as well. Like fortnightly works.
It's kind of, I think 2 weeks is ideal, because again, a month would be too long. And I had people saying to me, oh, you can do mentoring with me, but I'll speak to you once a month. I felt, no, I can't do that, because I need a bit more. So I think the frequency is perfect. And also what I like about them is they're quite, it's quite intimate. Even though there's a group of us, you still kind of speak to us individually, and when someone is struggling, you kind of help them out and that sort of thing, and also being able to reach out to you when needed. And obviously now that you've got the team as well, it just means that when you send a question, the appropriate person can help you with that particular question. And then having that service, I mean, to be honest, I've always been the kind of person who I'm always worried about bothering people too much, so I tend not to ask. But when I do ask, it's because I'm desperate for an answer. So I'm that kind, just generally, because honestly I don't want to bother them. I can always go and get my information. So now, and I found that has worked really well. So having access to you and the team has been great.
Amazing. So in terms of the next 12 months, so from this point onwards, so for 2021, an additional 5 units is your plan for SA, plus you're going to start buying assets. Is that right?
Yeah.
And in terms of like this time next year, have you got a billing target?
No, I've got an asset target.
Okay, what can I ask you more about that? Tell me more about that.
I've got a goal that I'm kind of scared of. I'm scared of saying in case that it doesn't happen. But anyway, clearly, I mean, I like high cash flowing assets. So HMOs do that, but also service accommodation does that. So, but I don't want to be doing rent to rent. So what I'm looking for is a building where I can convert into, say, 4 apartments and have those 4 apartments as SA, but also the numbers should also work for buy to let, because again, with SA, we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what's going to happen. So I need something that works as a standard buy to let, and someone said to me, I've got an accountability partner who, she's much further ahead in the property journey than I am. She's got a much bigger portfolio. And what she did say to me is, don't get so caught up in, I want to buy 5 properties and all of that. She said, just keep it simple. And that's what I'm doing. Just focus on getting 1 building that you can convert into 4, because then that makes you really focused, and you can just you can just look for that 1 property instead of looking for 5 properties or 6 properties to get in that year. So that's my goal in terms of the wealth building side of it. Billing target, obviously, I'm hoping that will be more, because obviously with adding 5 units, Do you know, I do have a billing target actually.
Go on.
But I can't remember where it is.
Say it out loud.
Let me see if I can find. I've just remembered because I had to send this to my accountability partner. So I'm just gonna have a look. Oh yeah, yikes. Okay, so grow SA portfolio and SA turnover to £240,000, profit of 100K.
Nice. 240 grand billing, net profits, that's about 40%, isn't it?
Yeah, I put about 100K, yeah, because obviously expenses will be quite high.
Yeah,
so that's my target. And then the asset building is that. So that's what I'm hoping for, really.
That's amazing. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm curious to know why you didn't just round it up to $250,000.
I think I must have got the monthly amount. So maybe if you divide that by 12, that we'll find our answer. Yeah. So it was a monthly. So if you do
20 a month, isn't it?
Is it how much?
20 a month.
240,000 divided by 12. Yeah, 20 grand a month.
Yeah, 20 grand.
Because I think I'm kind of just about 10 grand at the moment. So I thought if I'm doubling the portfolio, then that's twice what I'm currently billing, and then that would make it.
So can I just add to this, right? And obviously this is me going to be kicking your ass for a gentle little ass kicking.
Yeah.
If you just put £250,000 into your calculator and divide that by 12,
yeah,
the difference is only £830 a month.
All right, then go for it.
So I feel like it's essential that you target $250,000.
$250,000. Okay, cool. I'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Make that shit happen.
And yeah. And I think I did say to you, if by 6 months from now I haven't got to where I need to be, I've asked to be on your waiting list because I will definitely be needing some backside kicking.
That's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you a question because I've definitely kept you for a long time now, and I'm really grateful for this conversation. It's been really good fun. Yeah. For anybody, obviously last night we opened up the Strategy Hub intake for February. Yeah. For anybody who is sitting on the fence thinking, oh, I've done training elsewhere, or I'm already doing training with somebody else, what's going to be the difference with being part of this? Would you agree that what we do in the Strategy Hub, it's not training, it's implementation, and that actually everything that happens here will complement any other education that anyone's getting? What would you say on that question?
I think the best part of this is there is an element of training, but it's just how it's all been set up. It's in a concise way, in a step-by-step, because any other training you've had, it tends to be everything kind of thrown at you, but it's the systematic way of where you start with how to set up a business. And all of that is broken down into 12 stages up to the end of, when you get the keys and all of that. And I think that's really important. And then there's also the hand-holding element of it, because again, with most trainings, you don't get it. And to be honest, I think your course is very fairly priced. I would, if anyone, and I think I posted this yesterday when you were doing the live, someone said, $1,800 for the year. And I said, if you implement, you will make that several times over. That is guaranteed. I mean, I think if you feel it's a gamble, I don't think it is, but if you felt that it's a gamble, I think it's one worth taking.
It's that question, isn't it? Do you think that working with me could save you £1,800 in a year? Even just on things like teaching you how to save, not pay deposits, or save on your rentals and things like that. I could save you £1,800 in one deal for most people. So yeah, I think that's a really good point that you're making. Thank you very much for that. For people sitting on the fence thinking, maybe I should do this later, maybe it's not for right now. I mean, £1,800 for 66 grand, I think that's a great trade. But what would you say as a client? What would you say to people who are umming and ahhing about being part of the community that we have created?
I think they just lack the desire. If you can't do this, I don't know what else that they can do really, because say that you're going to put it off just means to me that you just want to put off your future, really. Because especially, I think the question to ask yourself is, doing things on my own, how far has that taken me? And if you're not happy with the answer to that question, then you need to do something. And out of all the things that are out there to do, this is something that I personally feel is just really reasonably priced. And because I know, I'm saying this because most of us know that there are trainings that are really expensive and you're not guaranteed you'll get the value for it. So I think the fact that you can see the results. It's not just me. I think it's pretty much a few other people have spoken about the results of this. I mean, if this is not enough, I don't know what else will do it for you, honestly. I can't think of what it would be.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you're right. Like I'm pretty sure there's about 3 people in the group who haven't done training elsewhere that found me first. Most people have done the big expensive, like 30 grand for a year's like VIP and all that sort of stuff, and not done deals for that 30 grand, and then spend like 3 months with me, paying monthly as well. So like 400 and something quid, and done 2 deals in their first 8 weeks. And actually they kind of regret spending 30 grand, bought a house for that. But ultimately it is what it is. And we're all on the journey we're on to get to where we are today, right? So in terms of your next steps, what's the one thing that you think I can help you with in the next 12 months so that I can check in with you and make sure that I'm doing that?
It's just growing my network of finding investors. I think for me, that's the number. So I think there's 2 tasks I've given myself: finding deals and finding investors. Finding investors totally has me terrified. I'm freaking out. I've seen that. I was watching the Today's Challenge, and I'm thinking I'm not doing that. You know, that's how scared I am, because that's my challenge.
You can totally count this as your live if you want. I'll allow that. But you're
good. Yay!
Your post has got to go up. No negotiation. That's it. It's got to happen.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's I think for me, that's the biggest thing I'm terrified of. Every time I say that, when I say I'm going to target this, that's my biggest kind of the thing I'm scared of. Finding deals, I'm not too worried about, because I've built relationships with the right people over time. So that doesn't scare me. And the reason I'm not looking for deals at the moment is because I keep thinking, what if I find the deal and I haven't got the money for it? You know, thankfully, I've sort of done a few things around LinkedIn. I've actually tagged you on LinkedIn, so if you can go and say something there. But I've got a couple of my previous investors to come in, and they've given me really good recommendations on there. So it's just stuff like that that I'm hoping, like, all right. Yeah.
Amazing. So we're going to leave on a really nice note, right? What's your reward for nailing your last year? What did you reward yourself with?
I had all my rewards that you made me write down, and all of them were done, including knocking down a wall and putting out a new fireplace and a new telly. I did all of that because I think you tasked me to it. So for all of the things, and that's really important, actually, because that's another thing that had me motivated. It was the reward thing. So I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I've done that. I can have all my rewards. I've had all my rewards. I've set more realistic, more down to earth rewards for this year. So, you know, but that reward system is definitely is important. So yeah, so I've done that. Christmas, we were at home and we just cozied up to the fireplace and the new telly to watch Christmas movies. And I was like, yes, you know. Yeah.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And the enjoyment of sitting and being in that space now, knowing that you worked hard and you got the reward, it's such an incredible way to run a business, because on the days when it's tough, you can literally look and go, I can do this. Look, I've already done it. And I think that's a really important thing for people to remember. So Leah, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate you sharing all that with me. I'm absolutely blown away by those numbers. I didn't know it was that high. So, I mean, well done.
Hope I can keep it up.
You totally got to keep it up.
The bar has been set quite high.
It has. I'll let you go now. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
See ya, bye.